Welcome to a late night rant. You know, we just came through the lunacy of our semi-annual event of messing with the clocks. That's right, spring it forward so that we can have more daylight, so that we can have longer time in the sun. There's still only 24 hours in the day. That said, we'll leave that aside for another commentary on another day. But it reminds me of the old adage, even a stopped clock is right twice a day. Well, that is if it's an old facial analog clock. If it's digital, you're pretty much out of luck. It won't show anything. But even a blind squirrel occasionally finds a nut. Bill Maher is certainly no right-wing conservative by any stretch of the imagination. But occasionally, he's absolutely right. During the Obama years, he was absolutely right in calling out the Obama administration for not dealing with radical Islam the way it needed to be treated, for not calling it out that even among the so-called moderate Muslims, that in their very creed, what they believe is death to the infidel. Now, they may not pick up arms or do anything to actually make that happen, but in their psyche, in their mind, in their ideology and theology, they truly believe that. And Bill Maher, an avowed atheist, has said, look, not even radical Christians believe that people who don't follow Jesus ought to die. Radical Jewish people do not believe people who are not Jewish ought to die. But radical Islam does believe that. And he was absolutely right, and he's right about China. Believe it or not, recently he did a 5-minute little monologue about China and the fact that China is not upset that there might be a depiction or two in an old Dr. Seuss book that would portray them maybe in a stereotypical fashion. In fact, I can tell you that I know several Asian people, and they have all told me they don't understand why here in America it's a big thing not to use the word Oriental anymore, because they use the word. Asian people, in referring to other Asian people, refer to them as Oriental. Not in a derogatory term, it's actually a geographical point of location, the Orient. It's a place, it's an area. But I digress. I want to play the clip where Bill Maher absolutely gets it right.
You're not going to win the battle for the 21st century if you are a silly people. And Americans are a silly people. That's the classic phrase from Lawrence of Arabia when Lawrence tells his Bedouin allies that as long as they stay a bunch of squabbling tribes, they will remain a silly people. Well, we're the silly people now. Do you know who doesn't care that there's a stereotype of a Chinese man in the Dr. Seuss book? China. All 1.4 billion of them could give a crouching tiger flying because they're not a silly people. If anything, they are as serious as a prison fight. Look, we all know China does bad stuff. They break promises about Hong Kong autonomy, they put Uyghurs in camps and punish dissent, and we don't want to be that. But it's got to be something between authoritarian government that tells everyone what to do and a representative government that can't do anything at all. In 2 generations, China has built 500 entire cities from scratch, moved the majority of their huge population from poverty to the middle class, and mostly cornered the market in 5G and pharmaceuticals. Oh, and they bought Africa. Their new Silk Road initiative is the biggest infrastructure project in history, indebting not just that continent, but large parts of Asia, Europe, and the Middle East to the people who built their roads, bridges, and ports. If you want to go anywhere in the world these days, you better have a yen for travel. Yen for travel. Oh, stop it. In China alone, they have 40,000 kilometers of high-speed rail. America has none. Our fastest train is the train that goes around the zoo. California wanted to build high-speed rail connecting the entire state, but alas, could not. We're $6 billion in the hole just trying to finish the track connecting the vital hubs of Bakersfield and Merced. One small step for nobody, one giant leap if you're a raisin. On a national level, we've been having Infrastructure Week every week since 2009, but we never do anything. Half the country is having a never-ending woke competition deciding whether Mr. Potato Head has an and the other half believes we have to stop the lizard people because they're eating babies. We are a silly people, even when we all agree on something, like getting rid of the penny. No, the inertia, the covering, the graft, the lawyers, the cowardice. Nothing ever moves in this impacted colon of a country. We see a problem and we ignore it, lie about it, fight about it, endlessly litigate it, sunset clause it, kick it down the road, and then write a bill where a half solution doesn't kick in for 10 years. China sees a problem and they fix it. They build a dam. We debate what to rename it. That's why their airports look like this and ours look like this. In San Francisco, it took 10 years just to get 2 bus lines through environmental review. The Big Dig, a tunnel in Boston, took 16 years, and don't get me started on my solar hookup. Okay. China once put up a 57-story skyscraper in 19 days. They demolished and rebuilt the Sanyuan Bridge in Beijing in 43 hours. We binge watch, they binge build. When COVID hit Wuhan, the city built a quarantine center with 4,000 rooms in 10 days, and they barely had to use it. They were back to throwing raves in swimming pools, while we were stuck at home surfing the dark web for black market Charmin. We're not losing to China. We lost. The returns just haven't all come in yet. They made robots that check a kid's temperature and got their asses back in school. Most of our kids are still pretending to take Zoom classes while they watch TikTok and their brain cells slowly commit ritual suicide. As George Bush once said, is our children learning? There's a progressive trend now to sacrifice merit for equity. Colleges are chucking the SAT and ACT test, and in New York, Mayor de Blasio announced merit would no longer decide who gets into the schools for advanced learners, but rather a lottery system. You think China's doing that? Letting political correctness get in the way of nurturing their best and brightest? You think Chinese colleges are offering courses in the philosophy of Star Trek, the sociology of Seinfeld, and surviving the coming zombie apocalypse? Those are real, and so is China, and they are eating our lunch. And believe me, in an hour, they'll be hungry again.
Boom. Hey, make sure you're a subscriber to this channel. It's free, and it drives my numbers up, which drives the liberals wild. Smack the bell and click the word all to get notification of my next rant.